Hi, I'm Pastor Brown with Peace and Victory Missionary Baptist Church located in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been ministering for 12 years on a different ministry, but I felt in my heart that God wanted me to start my own ministry. So in 2012, I had started having service inside of my living room, and God blessed me to be able to get a small room. And as my ministry began to grow, God allowed us to purchase a church building. And I thought at that time my ministry was doing great. But inside of my heart, I felt that we had problems inside of my ministry. One afternoon after my service, Pastor Aaron from CLF came by my church, showed me a clip from the Gracious Choir and a short clip from Pastor Paul. And before we left, we exchanged numbers and we left. The next day he called and asked could he come by the house. But at 7 o'clock precisely, he was there, and I invited him in, and he come in and he opened up his Bible and he asked me, did I understand precisely what forgiveness of sin and eternal redemption was? And I wasn't sure. So we started to fellowship and he started to explain to me about it. And while he was explaining, after he finished explaining to me, he asked me about a conference in Dallas. We went to Dallas and I was very, very impressed with all the pastors from all over the world. This was my first conference that I ever been in. And all the people from all over the world was there. But I was most impressed by the message that Pastor Paul preached, especially the one about Esau and Jacob, and how that Esau, through his own strength, tried to obey the word of God, his father, Isaac, and Jacob, who didn't do anything, who allowed Rebekah, his mother, to do everything for him. Jacob stood before his father, covered with everything that Esau had on, while Esau was out trying to do what his father asked him to do. And I thought in my heart through this message that this is the way that I've been teaching and preaching, to do it Esau way, to obey the word of God. He was trying to obey his father's word, go out and kill him, get him some food. That's what his father asked him to do. So he was doing what the word of God say through his own strength. But in other words, Jacob, who allowed Rebekah, who at that time represented Jesus Christ, and she said, I would do everything for you. And Jacob said that mother, if I go before my father, and he knew that I'm Jacob, that instead of blessing me, he gonna curse me. And Rebekah, his mother, said that if he cursed you, I would take the blessing. I would take the curse. If something happened, I would take it. And that's what Jesus do for us. He covers, he protects us, he take on everything that we have. When I was so impressed by that message, how that when we stand before God, that if God see 1% of our own self in us, when we stand before him, that we'll curse and we'll die. So when Jacob went before Isaac, he was covered with Esau. For he had on his hair, he had on his clothes, he had on his smell. So Isaac didn't see Jacob, he saw Esau. And that's how he got the blessing. But when we go out as Esau did and try to do things on our own, we can only end up cursing. I was very impressed by that message that Pastor Paul had preached there. And I was so impressed by it that I wanted to go to the next conference, which was in New York. And when I went to New York, all the people that was there. But again, the message that Pastor Paul preached, especially the one about the man that fell among thieves, I was very impressed with that, how that you don't have to do anything, that Jesus do it all for you. This is a message, this kind of teaching was not what I was used to. I was not used to hearing the word of God preached and teached this way. And I knew then that at that point that was what was wrong with my ministry, that I was preaching and teaching it the wrong way. I wasn't teaching it precisely the way the word of God was giving it to me. So I had to change my ministry. It is so much. I went to New York, I went to Korea, and then in Korea, it's a beautiful city, a beautiful place. But again, the message that also Pastor Park and the lectures taught over there was very impressive and very knowledgeable. Even the group message, you got something out the group message, how that they give you a chance to explain yourself and explain what they was talking about. It was so knowledgeable. And I really, really enjoyed it. But on the second week, my body broke down. So I got real sick coming back. But God brought me through that also. But one thing, in February of 2019, I had a very difficult hard time. I was shot 4 times at point blank range. Yes, I was inside some apartment complexes. And when I came out, a young man pulled a gun behind my head and told me to drop everything. And when I turned around to look at him, he started shooting. Shot me twice in my stomach, once in my arm, and then when I threw my hand up over my face to protect my head, he shot me in my hand. And oh man, when I was on the ground, my heart was so confused. I couldn't understand why God allowed this to happen to me. I was laying down there, just my mind, my heart was just totally wondering, why God? And as I went in and out, when I woke up, I was in the emergency room, and I had my family members and friends around me, and I heard them saying that you preaching the word of God, and why did God allow this to happen to you? They blaming me and blaming God for the situation and saying that this is a curse, and had my heart to believe, starting to believe that this is a curse. But through the word of God and through the message that I heard in New York from Pastor Park about when the man fell among thieves, I mean, it helped me to understand, to really change my heart and to see that this is not a curse, that this is a blessing, that I was in the point where God wanted to meet me in my difficulty, in my hard time, that God wanted to meet me and to show me that I don't have to do anything, that he's doing it all for me. So it helped me to understand that this is not a curse, that this is not a curse that God has put on me. This is a blessing that God wanted to meet me and to show me inside of my difficulty. So this lesson and teaching that I hear from Pastor Park and CLF is a wonderful thing. It's so knowledgeable, and I wanted to continue to be a part of CLF and continue to go and attend these conferences, and I just want to pray and ask God that I grow in this here, that I be able to teach my people that salvation come to those who allow Jesus to do things for them, that salvation do not come from your own strength or something good that you have to do. That if you allow Jesus to do it for you, that is where grace and salvation come from. That is what I learned so far in this teaching and the CLF, and I want to continue to be a part of it, and I want to be able to share this with my people.